So at that point, they put metal staples into the ends of the stone, and then from the staples there were two twisted figure-of-8 pieces of metal and a ring in each one of those, so that a pole could be passed through each ring across the top of the stone, and so at least two, because of the weight of it, at least 2 people on either side of the stone would carry it. If you read the Bible story, they became slaves to the Egyptians, and they spent 400 years in slavery in Egypt until they were brought out by Moses.
By Moses.
Yeah.
And this is where the Ark of the Covenant comes in.
Yes, exactly. Yes. So when they came out of slavery after 400 years, when they came out of slavery in Egypt, they also brought out the stone, again carried on the pole, with Moses to Sinai, Horeb in Sinai, where they were given God's perfect royal laws of liberty. And
the 10 Commandments.
Any researcher, literally within minutes of looking, will find the 10 Commandments in the Book of the Dead, the Egyptian Book of the Dead. So it just shows the fickle amount of research that goes in and comes out on mainstream TV.
Apparently when he gave the tablets to Moses, one of the first commandments was, "Thou shalt not worship any other god before me." So he's kind of saying there are other gods, you just can't worship them.
They always tell you about the 10 Commandments, the 2 tablets of stone, okay? And the 10 Commandments are the basic principles upon which the law is based. But Moses was also given 5 books of the law, the history of the nation, prophecy of the future, in the 5 books that are called the 5 books of Moses. He was given the 5 books of Moses. The ark was constructed at Sinai,
right.
by Aaron, Moses' brother. The 5 books contain the covenant, the contract that the 12 tribes of Israel made with God at Sinai, that they would keep his law forever and teach it to their children in perpetuity, to keep them free from oppression.
I'm just throwing a very contentious point here, probably as far as you're concerned, Marty, and that would be that I don't dispute that these physical objects exist. I think, you know, well, the stone does exist, but I'm sure the ark exists somewhere. Where I would differ from you is that I would say that that was possibly given to them by another race, but not necessarily the God of the universe. Where I am is that it was possibly some advanced Anunnaki or extraterrestrial race that created man some hundreds of thousands of years earlier. But I know that's not your belief. But that's why I'm still interested in all of the physical art, the physical side of this, the fact that there is an ark. And I'm fascinated as to where it might be, because it is of massive significance. Regardless of whether you believe my version of it or your version of it, it's still of massive significance.
You brought in now extraterrestrials.
Sure.
Okay. And God is the ruler of the universe, so by definition he is an extraterrestrial. If you read Exodus in the Bible, it describes on the top of Horeb, Mount Sinai, it describes by day there's a cloud of smoke, which by night became a fire in the sky, with strange noises, great heat. The people were warned not to approach, and some of them did and were burned.
Which in one of my shows I've described as a UFO, basically.
Exactly. Well, yeah, that is exactly what it was. It was a UFO, because the lights in the UFO at night would shine through the smoke screen.
Right.
But by daytime it was a cloud of smoke, and obviously just a cloud of smoke, because the lights, in daylight, they wouldn't be shining through it. You know, Sinai is not volcanic.
Right.
And also it moved off the top of Horeb in Mount Sinai and travelled, and when it moved, the 12 tribes of Israel, about 3 million people at that time, followed it. When it stopped, they stopped and camped. When it moved, they followed it. When it stopped, they stopped and camped. It provided them with everything that they needed, provided them with food and water, and it prevented their shoes and their clothes from wearing out for 40 years. And then eventually Solomon built, King David's son Solomon built the temple on Mount Moriah in Jerusalem. and the ark was placed inside what was known as the Holy of Holies, because that was where, hundreds of years previously, Abraham had built an altar to sacrifice his son Isaac. Okay, so that place, Abraham with his son Isaac, sanctified that place as the holiest place on earth. The stone became the throne of David, and King David, King Solomon, his son Rehoboam, and all the descendants, all of the monarchs descended from David, were crowned on that stone.
Solomon's temple's there.
Yes.
King Ahaziah of Judea, 2 tribes, he's had a successful battle with the Edomites, and he's going to attack 10 tribe Israel. And he's warned, there's a famous verse in the Bible about a passing bullock stepping on a thistle. He's the thistle, you see. Don't do it. Well, he got hammered. His army is destroyed. He's tied behind the chariot of Jehoash, the Israelite king, goes to Jerusalem, pulls down 200 yards of the wall, and Jehoash then takes everything from the palace, and he takes everything from the temple.
Oh, including the scrolls, everything?
Including the ark.
The temple was destroyed in 588. King Nebuchadnezzar of Babylon destroyed the temple in 588 BC. And Jeremiah the Bible prophet took the stone from the temple and the Ark of the Covenant.
The family of Obed-Edom, he took them as well. There'd be no point in taking the family of Obed-Edom if he didn't take the ark. So we said, hang on, the ark's gone.
So the ark left the temple?
It's gone north to Samaria in 790 BC. We know...
And you found all the evidence for this, presumably?
Yeah, well, what we did, we tried to translate the Etruscan stuff. No, they went north of Samaria. 687, Sennacherib, the Assyrian emperor, is murdered by 2 of his sons. The heir, the older son, has a civil war with him.
And took the king's daughters and some other people down into Tanis in Egypt. And that's why the film Raiders of the Lost Ark begins in Tanis in Egypt, looking for the Ark of the Covenant. And the remains of it are still there today. It's known in Arabic as Qasir bint al-Yahudi, which means the palace of the daughters of Judah. They were told to leave, and they left Tanis in Egypt. And they got a ship from Tanis and sailed through the Mediterranean.
This is with the stone and the ark?
With the stone and the Ark of the Covenant.
Right, so
yeah.
this is where...
And the king's eldest daughter, who was called Teotefi.
So it comes up from Egypt to the Mediterranean.
Yeah, yeah.
Now, I interviewed a historian called Alan Wilson, and he believes that, you know, the ark came up to... He believes that it ended up in Wales after it came up, so, you know, from the Mediterranean.
Yeah.
So take it from there as to what research you've done as to where you think it was taken.
It came through the Straits of Gibraltar. They stopped at Gibraltar for 5 months, changed ships, and then eventually, because they had to wait for the weather and the currents and things, and they sailed up and they stopped off in northern Spain and spent some time there.
Can I just interrupt you there, Marty? You know, it seems likely that the Ark of the Covenant could be in the British Isles if the Stone of Destiny ended up here.
Absolutely.
And the two were supposedly together.
The 10 tribes take off and they cross the Euphrates, going west through Turkey.
Right.
Second book of Esdras, chapter 14, right? Okay? They are going through Turkey, and the Greeks pick up on them, and they call these Cymry the Cymroi. Cymroi, Cymry, right?
The Welsh again.
They get, well, the Brits.
The Brits.
Yeah, I'm a Brit, you know, we're all Brits, come on. They get to the Dardanelles, half the people stay there, and the other half go to Italy. By looking at the Etruscan writings, we found we could read them.
To
10 tribes of
Armenia,
Israel.
the 10 tribes of Israel. Then they went through Asia Minor, and then half of them went to Etruria, Italy, half went to the Isle of Lemnos, and then to UK. It's all recorded.
Yes.
See, in one stele of Sennacherib, it says in one of his deportations, he removed 200,120 people. So these are not small groups.
That's a huge
diaspora. Well, they went through Asia Minor. The Greeks call them the Cymroi, the Cymry, you see?
Yes.
And they were like a tidal wave. Nothing could stop them. So the other half stay there, and then they come to Britain in 500. Now, on the island of Lemnos, a stele was found in 1876, and it's plastered with Colburn writing. and there's a guy holding a spear, big guy with a spear. And it tells how the people have gathered there, and they're under it.
On the island of Lemnos?
Right. Well, in the British records, they say the people gathered on the Isle of Liguria, which is Lemnos. And here's this stele, and it tells how they've been directed by the god, and they're going to sail together to a great green island out in the Western Ocean. That's what it says.
So they sailed out of the Straits of Gibraltar, through there, and
To the UK.
to the UK.
No, they picked up 3 or 4 other groups en route.
Which was into Penzance Bay. In Penzance Bay, there's an island, a small island that you can walk out to at low tide, called St. Michael's Mount, and next to it, on the shore, is a small town called Marazion. Or Marazion.
Marazion.
Marazion, yes, exactly.
Zion.
Yeah. Well, the ruler of Cornwall at that time was called Elatha, and they knew that they were part of the 10 lost tribes of Israel, and that Britain, including Ireland, at that time, the descendants of Dan, who was one of the 12 tribes of Israel, the father of one of the 12 tribes of Israel, had populated Ireland, the Danites. And in Ireland they were known as the Tuatha De Danann, which means the tribe of Dan. When Jeremiah and the Queen of Israel, Teotihuaca, landed at Marazion, they told Elatha about the fall of Jerusalem, the destruction of Solomon's temple, and all that had happened. And he wept bitterly over the fall of Zion.
And with Corinus, who goes to Cornwall, and so on. So here is a story matching the British record of a gathering on an island to sail to the UK. And it's the secret is this language and alphabet.
Mara means bitter, and Zion is Jerusalem. So it means, the word Marazion means bitter over Jerusalem.
Hence the name of that island in Cornwall.
Well, the island is called St. Michael's Mount,
Right.
but it's right next to Marazion.
Okay, you believe that they then went to Ireland?
Yes, they were headed for Ireland, and so Elatha sent messengers across to Ireland, to Tara, to the High King of Ireland.
And that's how you get after the ark. All you got to do is find Regulus, which is the biggest of the lot. You see, we said Regulus because Regulus is the biggest star in Leo, the lion. And Leo the lion is the emblem of Judea and Jerusalem. So we thought there's a good chance that that's it.
So it is suggested that the large earth mounds found all over South Wales were laid out by the ancients in a pattern to specifically represent first magnitude stars of various constellations. Wilson and Blackett have produced many star mound maps which confirms this theory. The mound which represents the star Regulus turns out to be at a place called Unis Abul. Just outside this village is a prominent hill or mound. According to Allen, the top section of this mound is man-made.
Is this where the Ark of the Covenant is?
Yes, in our opinion, yes, and I'll tell you why. It's a man-made mound, about 4 acres of it, 60 feet high, all man-made, on top of another hill. Someone in antiquity built a stone wall around the top, right? No gates. Why did they do that? Why would they build a stone wall around the top of a Welsh hill? I do not know. But the inside area is called Golwg, which means place of worship. And the whole mound is Unis Abul. Unis, enclosure of, or special area of, and then it's, if you've got BWL, it's special place. If it's BYL or BIL, it means ark. There are 4 sumps on the north side, like big hollows in the ground. In the bottom are pits with white stones in them, right?
In modern times, it's been regarded as a bogus history. And the reason for it being a bogus history comes out of Oxford and Cambridge and London in England. And the theory was that Troy never existed other than in the mind of Homer. And as Homer wrote a fictitious poem about Troy, Troy was a fictitious place. It had no foundation in fact or truth and was non-existent. Therefore, a history which based itself upon the first king of Britain being Brutus, the great-grandson of Anchises and grandson of Aeneas of Troy, and that the whole of the British nation were originally, or a large part of them were originally Trojan, had to be a false history. As it was a false history based on Homer's fictional epic, therefore you throw out British history. And this actually was done. And you will find books by these supposed scholars from Oxford and elsewhere stating this in the words that I've just stated.
The name of the 10 tribes of Israel, as recorded by the Assyrians, was the Cymry, K-H-U-M-R-Y.
Which sounds very familiar to me because it's on all those cars that drive across the Severn Bridge,
That's right.
isn't it?
Well,
the word Cymru.
Since about 1900, they've dropped the KH and replaced it with a hard C, but the correct spelling up until 1900 was K-H-U-M-R-Y. That's the 10 tribes of Israel. They're on Egyptian things. Now, when Austin Layard...
I've got to stop you there.
Go on.
Because this is good. So, are you saying then that the early Brits were in fact the 10 tribes of Israel?
Yeah, I'm going to prove it. I'm going to prove it. Well, they didn't get lost. They knew where they were. Nobody else did. We had an ancient alphabet in Britain. Julius Caesar describes it, numerous others. I mean, David ap Gwilym died 1367, describes it. It's on ancient stones of 600, 500 BC, AD in Scotland, in England, and in Wales. It's described by a number of writers in Wales in the 1425, 1450, 1470 period. So that the dispute has been that in recent times, and I mean recent times, 1930s onwards, the Colburn alphabet was declared to be a forgery of 1800. Well, Julius Caesar would have had a job to describe it, and all these others would have had a job to describe it, and it wouldn't be on ancient stones.
Okay.
It's on one stone in Wales which says Godufan the Exile, and Godufan was a king who was deposed around the year AD 200, and so on. So the authenticity of this alphabet is literally beyond dispute. Isn't it strange? The ancient British alphabet is virtually identical with ancient Etruscan, Italy, right? And Pelasgian, which means the Aegean and Asia Minor.
Okay.
So that matches the migration route of the ancient British people. So like the Brits have gone to Australia, New Zealand, Canada, America, they've taken their religion, their customs, their language and alphabet and everything with them. So other people migrating would do the same. So it occurred to us that the Cymry, the Cymry, are the same people. Because again, it's on the migration trail.
And this sort of, you believe that there were no Celts in Britain up until about 1714 then, is that?
When they were invented.
Right, when the Celts were invented.
That's right.
Okay.
If the British people are Celtic, then all the histories are wrong.
Okay.
And can be rejected.
Right.
The same applies to Ireland. And the idea of them being, see, if you dispossess people of their history and you eliminate the history, which has been done, then you have to give them a new identity.
Yes.
So why not Celts?